Hi guys, Jesterel here, aka Teresa, and I wanted to do a little making of video for my latest short film, The Quackening. Thank you guys so much for showing up to the film. It's still going up kind of at a snail's pace right now, but overall, that's kind of what happens with these short films, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I thought it would be fun to do this little making of video to explain to you guys the process that I do with my short films and going forward with them. So what is the idea behind The Quack? Well, there's been 2 short films in the series so far, and the idea for it kind of came from myself because I'm the kind of person where I look things up on the internet if I want to diagnose myself of any kind of ailment, and sometimes I babble to my friends about these things that I've read and try to dispense medical advice, and people are like, what are you talking about? You're just a person who reads this stuff on the internet. And so I saw myself as a little bit of a quack doctor, and so one day I just had this idea for a short film about somebody who makes themselves a doctor based on just reading things on the internet and the disastrous results, and I just kind of went from there. The first short film I did very quickly. I wrote it like in an hour right before work, and I just said to my brother, hey, can you do this with me? And so we did it. Didn't have any lighting for it. I didn't have any understanding of lighting at the time, and so it was really, really badly lit, and it wasn't as well edited. But with these short films, I just want to keep getting better and better. And so this short film, I really planned. Okay, I don't have any lights. Just so you guys know, with my short films, I have had very little money to spend on them lately. So lights are some of the most expensive things you can get for a short film. So I didn't have any of them. So this one, the sequel I did, people say that I'm kind of a natural at comedy. So I decided to do a short film that was comedy again. And so I thought, okay, we'll do The Quack 2. What can the plot be? I couldn't really think of anything. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll bring my sister in to be the patient this time instead of my brother. I had the idea that to diversify her, I'm going to make her a secret FBI agent. And I'm like, what should her ailment be? Because in the first short film, I just had my brother have a headache. So in this film, I'm like, okay, so me and my sister are always joking to each other, oh, I'm fat. Like, I'm fat. Like, that's what we're always saying whenever we feel guilty about having eaten something. And so I just incorporated that into the short film. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. So to make my short films, I've been working off of an old camera, and it's the one I'm filming on right now. It is a Canon T2i. It is like 12 years old, and I've been able to get it to function for this long. I only have one lens for it right now. It's a zoom lens. I want to get a prime lens. Frankly, I want to get a whole new camera, but this is what I've been working on so far. So like I said, I don't really have a budget for any of my films right now, but I did have a little money that I wanted to invest in sound equipment because for my previous short films, what had been so bad with them is the sound. Because for those who don't know, if you get a movie camera, like one that's meant to take, like for example, the one that I'm using right now is actually meant more for photography than it is movie making, even though it has the capabilities to do 24 frames per second, which is the typical frame rate of a movie. But the onboard camera is absolutely terrible. It's echoey. It cannot shoot outside, otherwise everything will be so loud because it'll just amplify every sound on the planet. And if you plug in a microphone to it, it is not much better. So I was able to purchase a field recorder. I got one it's been working for me really well. It was only $114. But I had to figure out, because you can't just use a field recorder. I'm like, okay, what mics do I want to use? And I had a choice. I'm like, okay, do I want a boom mic or lapel mics? Now, lapel mics are usually what people use in interviews. That's what I'm wearing right now. They just clip onto your clothes. But the problem with lapel mics is that if you conceal them, then they're probably going to rub against your clothes and you're going to have a lot of static, a lot of fuzzy noises. Ultimately, I decided to get lapel mics though because I'm like, well, I don't have anyone to hold the boom mic if I get that. So I used lapel mic, but I didn't realize how much we were going to be moving, especially in those scenes where Kelly's on the couch and I'm talking to her. So unfortunately, when I got the sound back and I listened to it, a lot of that sound was bad. There was just too much rubbing against are closed with the mics. So luckily, the onboard camera stuff is not that bad if it comes from inside a room, as long as it's not too echoey. So I thought that that was good enough to use, and so far no one's even noticed or complained. And that's something that I've been told, like, never tell people the mistakes that you know are in your film, because they probably aren't going to notice. And so most people have not noticed that fact. Another thing that becomes a problem if you don't use like external different devices for your sound is that there's always like this cut in the sound, like, because your camera is probably going to pick up like other noises. And so there's a very specific point in the movie. It's when it goes from me talking into the camera, and then it goes to like a wide shot of me looking over my patient. It like goes from quiet, fuzzy sound in the background to like loud noise, like air conditioner noise. Luckily, it doesn't seem like anybody has noticed. I kind of put the music over that to kind of make it so it wouldn't be so obvious. But that's, sound continues to be the problem. It is probably one of the hardest things to get right. That's why they have entire sound crews for films and entire light crews. Every part of making a film is crucial. And speaking of every part of a film being crucial, something else that is entirely crucial for making a film is music. And for me, I've found that finding music for my short films is the hardest part. Because, first of all, once again, I don't really have much money for it right now. So it's difficult because when you go to the free stuff, because YouTube obviously has a backlot of free music you can use and not get copyright strikes. And there's other websites too that I've tried out, like, for example, Epidemic Sound, I think it's called, has a lot of music you can use for free, or they give you a certain amount of songs that you can download for free. And not have that affect your channel. But unfortunately, all of these songs are really meant for like just background music, like travel videos or collection videos, just stuff to have on in the background. They're not really cinematic, where when you're using music to craft a story, then you have certain cues to evoke certain feelings. And so basically what I have to do is I have to find a song that kind of matches what I'm thinking of. Like, I had an idea for like a classic vaudeville vibe for this short film. You have to find that kind of music, and then you have to see if you can time it so that it best adds up with the kind of emotion you're gonna have to evoke from the scene. But it doesn't, it just can never really add up, or when it does, it's kind of by chance. Because what you really need when you're making a film is to have someone, a composer, an actual composer, and tell them what you're looking for in the film, what mood you want to convey, and then they can compose that music, that original music, to your short film. An example of something that I wanted for the short film was during the credits, I really wanted just some very, very hyperactive music, like crazy music. Like the ending theme to Smiling Friends, which I've used in a couple of other my videos. And I didn't want to use it for the short film because while I'm comfortable just using the allotted clip that they give you to avoid copyright in the end of my videos, I didn't feel comfortable taking that song and using it for one of my own short films. So I just had to use some piano music, but it was not the kind of tone I really wanted to set for the ending of the short film. So what I would really like to do in the future is be able to hire a composer so that they could actually give me the music that I'm looking for. And my goodness, like, there were some times where I was really worried about how the short film would turn out, because I thought this could be so much better if I just got the music to elevate it. Like, you can think about different movies, like Psycho, for example. I've talked about how much I love that movie. That is a movie where the score really, really elevates the material. So would like to work with a composer soon enough. So basically, it's kind of been almost a one-woman show doing these short films. I get in like certain friends to help me out with these things. I get people like my sister, my brother to come in and do a character in it. But it's been a very, very small operation. So I want it to expand. Whenever I get the footage, I just, I go on Premiere Pro, I figure out what I want to do, and I basically just Google everything that I want to achieve. And a lot of it is trial and error. Like I did some slow motion in my last video, and I just did it using the Premiere Pro effects to just mess with the speed and duration. But other people are pointing out it would probably be better if I just changed the frame rate on my camera. So there's a little trial and error, and some of the things are a bit subjective. Like someone from this last short film was like, well, the camera seemed a little bit exposed in some places, but I thought, well, I was going for the camera being more exposed, like specifically in the outdoor scenes. So some of it is subjective, like you couldn't change things in little ways, but it's always interesting to get people's feedback and to just kind of get the general idea of how the film was sold. And I was talking a little bit about acting, and someone wrote to me and said, well, your acting was a lot better in this movie. Comedy has always been something that comes naturally to me. Like I have gone to acting class, not as much as I would like. Unfortunately, once again, it's a money thing. But I remember that the teacher at the time would always be like, well, you know, they would always have notes for me when I was doing a dramatic scene. But when I was doing a comedy scene, they would never have any notes to me. They're like, you know, you got the timing down and all of that kind of thing. So I think I have a bit more natural ability as a comedian, but drama is something I want to do as well, though, so I continue to try to find ways to practice on that. So I hope that someday soon I can start taking more lessons. But anyway, I do have 2 more short films in the works, because everyone was asking me, are you going to do a sequel to The Quack? You've done 2 movies now. Yes, I have a spin-off in the works. I'm not going to reveal it just yet, but there is another comedy video coming. And I love, like, one of my highest videos of all time is my horror short film Alone, which I didn't even like. There was a lot of flaws with that one, but it got a lot of views over time. A lot of views for me. So I've got 2 more short film scripts in the works, and in the meantime, I've got other YouTube videos that are coming out that are going to be a lot more highly produced. And I'm going to be, as I've been learning Premiere Pro for this long, I wanted to start getting really, really fast at it. And you might wonder, why am I doing these short films? Well, since I was 15, I wanted to be a filmmaker because I realized that was kind of the pinnacle. Like, it started out when I realized I really enjoyed creating stories and was just thinking of them constantly. And then eventually I was like, well, maybe I'll be a book writer, even though I don't read a lot of books. But then when I was thinking, I wasn't reading books, I was watching movies constantly. And when I would consider writing a book, I would be like, oh, I hope somebody makes this into a movie someday, because that's all I really cared about, movies. So I've always wanted to make movies because it's what I enjoy doing. But over time, my motives came a little bit more towards that I really do believe this is the worst era for movies that we've had, like possibly forever. Quentin Tarantino went on an interview recently where he said this is one of the worst eras for movies ever. And I've certainly made my fair share of videos complaining about that on here, but I don't want to just be like that. I want to actually make good content, and I know that I'm not perfect with it, but I want to just keep getting better and better and just present good stories. So thank you for listening to this little explanation about myself, but you've seen me said a lot about how I don't have a lot of money for it right now. That's why I'm trying to get a Patreon going, to maybe get that boom mic like I should have in the first place and get a new camera. So I do have a Patreon page live. You can check it out. If you don't feel comfortable with donating money yet, then I would love to hear a comment about, in terms of offering tiers on my Patreon of what might entice you to make it better. Right now, the 2 tiers I have is that if you donate any amount of money to me, like $5, then you will definitely be credited on the end of each of my videos. If you do the $10 or $20 tier, then you will get exclusive behind-the-scene content and updates like this. Like, there are things in the works that I'm not even revealing right now, but you would be a part of the process and seeing what I'm getting up to behind the scenes and probably partaking in more polls. So those are my 2 tiers right now, but let me know what you guys think about it. And thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my short films so far. Right now, I really want to be working on marketing these films and getting more people to see them. So thank you all for being like the base start of that. And so once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.